Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our last lesson on human impact. Today we're going to talk a little bit about water pollution, which is the thing you see on the screen in front of you right now, and human population growth, and that'll wrap up the unit for us. So we'll jump right in. Right, we talked about human impact and factories and stuff, and how that affected the air and all sorts of pollution that happened that way. Today we're going to wrap up this topic, talk a little bit about water pollution. There's really four big ways that industrialism and human interactions can cause polluting the waters. The first one is nitrogen and phosphorus pollution. When certain wastes get back into water sources, right, like rivers and lakes and oceans, the nitrogen and phosphorus will kill off some of the plants and animals, not directly, but the nitrogen helps more plants grow and kills the fish because of the nitrogen and the phosphorus, right? So it lets plants grow more but kills off the fish. And then because there's no or fewer fish and then eventually no fish, the plants will die out. Even though they were growing more, they'll die out because there's no living organisms to give them carbon dioxide. So initially we get a boost in plant growth, but kill some fish. And then eventually down the line, without any fish, we see lots of plant death as well, which leads to a collapsing ecosystem. When certain things get dumped into sources of water, we also have sediment pollution, which is erosion and humans moving earth to make room for their own things. They'll kick up all the soil and they'll dump it into water sources. This will block sunlight from getting to plants, killing the plants, and because the plants are then the basis, the foundation of every ecosystem, without the plants to provide food for the herbivores, the ecosystem will collapse. Third one is toxic wastes, which kind of combines nitrogen and sediment pollution, right? Dumping poison into water sources is not great for pretty obvious reasons. It'll kill plants, it'll kill animals, it'll collapse ecosystems because it throws off the entire balance there. Our last one, thermal pollution, is one that we started talking about. Someone had asked about that back when I brought up our nuclear power plants. Thermal pollution is changing the temperature of the surrounding area. Here for water specifically, they take in water for, they by meaning factories, right? Factories and power plants and such will take water in because it's really good at helping keep things cool. But then they dump the hot water back out. And so if you have a lake here that's 20 degrees Celsius, and then all of a sudden there's this power plant here that takes in water and dumps out hotter water, you're going to slowly raise the temperature of this lake. So you go from 20 to 30, and from 30 to 40, and from 40 to 50, and slowly raise the temperature of this water, where all of the fish and plants and stuff that were living in here, they were used to 20 degrees, and now you're saying it's 30, 40, 50. They're not going to be able to handle that change in temperature, and so that'll kill off the plants and the animals that live in this body of water. Again, collapsing the ecosystem and throwing the whole thing off. The next little thing we're going to talk about is human population growth. It's another kind of throwback to our previous conversations is we have, as humans, a carrying capacity. And this is something we've mentioned in the past when we talked about ecosystems and how we have the number of organisms balancing right around that carrying capacity. But for humans, because we can control so much of our environment, we can take what our normal carrying capacity should be and just kind of blast right through the roof of it. Because we get to decide things like medicine, we get to decide things like housing and food quality, and we have doctors and things that like help keep us alive. And so, with all of our advances in technology, with all of our advances in medicine, with all of our advances in discovering more about ourselves, we find that we're growing at a rate that just can't be handled by this planet. So this goes back to what we said before, right? In order to, keep this damage to a minimum, we should be living as close together as possible, right? With skyscrapers trying to not impede our, nature. But on the other hand, also, we need to make some decisions, right? We are causing these problems. We are really, really damaging the environment. And without taking these proper cautions, without making laws to help limit the harm that we do, we're going to just steamroll right through all the remaining resources that the planet has to offer, to the point where we won't be able to survive here either. So, in conclusion, it's really important that we take care of our planet. It's really important that we make efforts where we can, and we have companies and governments that believe the same thing and try their best to limit the damage that we cause, and that governments cause, that countries cause, that corporations cause to our environment. That wraps up human impact and all the things that we had to talk about for human impact. So I'm going to stop this lesson right here and transition us into office hours. We'll be back on Wednesday to go to genetics and start our genetics unit. And I'll see you all next time.